whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show, live on YouTube, Monday through Friday from noon until 2. Of course, I always like to remind people of this. I mean, it's YouTube, so you can watch it anytime you want to. I also want to say hello. It's our second day of broadcasting this show live on Facebook, so we're double streaming. Although I have learned from yesterday that if you really want to participate in the fun chat, in the chat community, YouTube is the place to do it. So, but I know I went back yesterday, was reading the comments on Facebook, and a lot of people found it easier to find. So whatever way you can, find the show, share it with your friends. While we're thinking about it, and if you're new, we want to click the thumbs up button on YouTube, of course. You can click it on Facebook, but the YouTube algorithm loves the thumbs up. So if you could just push that button. I had a little saying. Here you go. Push that button.
Come on, push the button.
We should just smash them.
Smash that button. Yeah, so if you could smash that button right now, it really helps us out. There's a number of ways that you can help the show. First and foremost, we always thank our exclusive founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz. You can give him a call for all your tax needs. He drops into the show a couple times every single day to give you details on all the ways he can help you. But the number to call is 888-TAX-DEAL or MoskowitzLLP.com, or as I like to sing, MoskowItzLLP.com. So yeah, support our sponsors. And if you want details on how to support the show, you can find the YouTube links, and you can become a monthly Patreon subscriber simply by going to my website. It's theNikkiMedoroShow.com. You see it right there. Proper spelling and everything. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. That's where all of you that have become monthly subscribers to keep the lights on and really do the show go to help us out. So we really, really appreciate it. All the links are also in the About section on YouTube, and I included it on Facebook as well. So just do all of that. Now, I do want to put out a call for either emails or voice memos. And voice memos are really easy. You could do them on your phone. I should have announced this yesterday to give you guys a little bit more time. But tomorrow is Veterans Day. And I used to do this on Station X. And I'd open up the phones and people would email me. If there is a veteran in your life, if you are a veteran, and you want to get your voice heard, you can send me a voice memo. You just kind of pick up your phone, and there's a little voice app thing, and you send it like a message to my email address, which is theNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. If it's a voice memo, I will play it. If there is a message you want to send to a veteran in your life, you could do it. And again, even if they can't listen live, they can always listen to it later. I just want to honor the men and women that have served our country. And tomorrow's a day to do it. It's also my mother-in-law's birthday, so she always has a parade on Veterans Day on her birthday. But it's really important. And I'd love for people to weigh in. And again, we'll talk about this tomorrow, but what it means to be a veteran in the year 2022. Can you separate the politics away from serving your country under whomever is president? And so I'd love to get your guys' take on this. If you want to email me, I love voice memos. I'm trying to incorporate some of your voices on the show that I miss so much, but that's a great way to do it. So it's all Veterans Day, emails and voice memos. If you guys want to send those in, you can. And again, send them to TheNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. Coming up after the bottom of the hour news at 12:30, so around 12:35, we're going to get into one of my least favorite topics, but that I love to talk crap about, which is crypto. Now, if anybody out there is freaking out about the collapse of FTX, you'll want to tune in. The LA Times business columnist Michael Hiltzik will join us, and we'll be talking about the collapse of FTX. So apparently, the turmoil in Bitcoin and company appears to have spilled over into the wider market. Losses sustained by retail investors. Now, it's forcing or did force the drawdown in stocks yesterday. So, Sam Bankman Fried told FTX.com investors that without a cash injection, the company would need to file for bankruptcy. So Michael Hiltzik will explain all of this to us in a way we can understand. And what does this mean for all you crypto investors? I think it's Binance and FTX are the major players in this arena. And so that's coming up at 12:35. Taking a look at election day. Of course, we're going to continue that as the returns continue to come in. Here in San Jose, my hometown, San Jose mayor's race, still too close to call. And then in the Santa Clara mayor's race, which is also still too close, did you see the math on this? The Chronicle reported that the San Francisco 49ers spent $80 for every voter in Santa Clara. Now, again, the race is still too close to call. But wow, did they really want to unseat Linda Gilmore? She's the current mayor. They're trying to unseat her. They spent nearly $4.6 million on the election on Tuesday in Santa Clara, including more than almost $2.5 million trying to unseat Gilmore. It's still unclear. Let's see. What are the numbers? So as of 5 o'clock yesterday evening, with about 50% of the expected votes counted, Mayor Lisa Gilmore led by only 166 votes. So it was about 50.5% to 49.5%. So way, way too close. So we're going to keep an eye on that. She's been obviously an outspoken critic of the Niners and the Levi Stadium. And so South Bay mayor's race is way too close to call. In San Francisco, this was an issue that we talked about a lot. That stretch of that 1.5 mile stretch of JFK Drive and Golden Gate Park, apparently it's going to stay closed to cars. More than 61% of San Francisco voters rejected Proposition I. And now that was the measure that would have reopened JFK to vehicles. It would have made, so Prop I would have made that stretch accessible to vehicles except for Sundays all year and Saturdays in the summer months and during the holidays. I used to work with a woman at Station X that I think was pretty frustrated by the closure because she commuted through this area. And one of the criticisms for this was that it was just pushing cars into neighboring streets. But I guess enough voters liked it shut down. It is not going to reopen. Nationally, I think we're still basking, although cautiously basking into the fact that there wasn't this huge red wave, right? It was something that was said over and over and over again. And so Chris Hayes, from MSNBC, we actually spoke to him at Station X, a really nice guy. He did this montage, and I'm just going to play it because why the hell not? So this is Chris Hayes just going back over the red wave and the promises that were being made to so many people out there. And yeah, it never really came to fruition. So here's Chris Hayes.
Just imagine being a viewer of Fox News today after weeks of being promised one.
Be an analyst for a second. Does it feel like a red wave?
It feels like a red wave, Brian.
You know, your predictions of a red wave are accurate.
So I made a surfboard, said the red wave is coming.
Red wave rising. That red wave that I'm convinced is coming.
The reports I'm seeing show a big red wave coming.
Sleepy Joe just guaranteed a red wave in Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of energy on the ground. You probably hear the rally in the background right now. We think we're going to have a big red wave in Michigan.
Wow.
Democrats are bracing for the worst case scenario, a red tsunami.
We are officially on a red tsunami watch. Sean, we're going to see a red tsunami.
Red tsunami grows.
That means red tsunami.
We're not just going to see a red wave. We're going to see a red tsunami.
Poverty, joblessness, critical race theory, crazy gender ideology in our schools. We are going to see a red tsunami.
And lastly, your prediction for tonight.
I think we're going to have a red wave. I think it's going to be maybe bigger than anyone thought.
On Tuesday, we will be part of a big red wave that says enough is enough.
Up next, Elon Musk ready to ride the big red wave.
Elon Musk tweeted massive red wave.
Massive red wave.
Massive red wave.
Massive red wave.
You're about to see a red wave that makes day after tomorrow look like nothing.
That's going to be responsible for the red wave. I think the red wave that's coming is going to be like the elevator doors opening up in The Shining.
Rogan said that the red wave is going to look like the elevator doors opening and the blood pouring out of the elevator in The Shining.
Like the elevator doors opening up in The Shining.
That is correct, except it's not going to be an elevator. It's going to look more like Deep Impact, the tsunami at the end, but colored red.
Remember that Taya Leone Deep Impact disaster movie? That's the red wave tsunami that'll come ashore.
It's going to be a brutal
Wait
week
for it,
the
people.
Democrats
Wait
beginning
for it.
on Tuesday.
And frankly, I've already DVR'd CNN and MSNBC for election night, not because I'm going to watch, but just because I want to enjoy the tears post red tsunami.
And then
What happened to the red wave, Congresswoman?
I love it. I love it. It was worth the wait all the way to the end. Now, some of you are in the comments. And again, I love the community in the comments, but this one is so true. Floyd Ruiz chatted in. I believe it caused people to go out and vote. You know, it's a good question of how much do you kind of telegraph to people before the election that you've got it in the bag? Because I think that really did hurt the Republicans when you're telling people to expect one thing and you're not getting it, right? And you don't get close to it. Because let's see. So at last check, so it's still down to 3 races, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada for control of the Senate. Each party needs to win 2 of those states to secure a majority. Democrats need 50 seats to control the Senate. Obviously, if the vice president has the tie-breaking vote. The GOP needs to capture 51. Republicans currently locked into 49 Senate seats and Democrats at 48. At least that was the last check. I got to recheck it. President Joe Biden says he still plans to seek re-election and he'd likely make an official call early next year. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to hear from one political analyst that really, I think, accurately breaks down why President Biden not only hasn't announced yet, but why he may not run. Because 2024 is not going to be like 2020. It's just not. And so, 2019, 2020, running a traditional type of race, it is not going to be the same thing for a man who, of course, has aged a bit. Let's welcome Kim McAllister. Kim, you just missed it.
Hey.
Chris Hayes with MSNBC did a fabulous montage about the promised red wave that didn't actually happen.
The pink trickle?
It was a ketchup smear, right? That's what I said it was. It was a ketchup smear.
I saw a horrible period joke yesterday.
Oh, I've seen that one, I think.
The red wave turned out to just be a little mid-cycle spotting.
There you go. But look, they could still, Georgia can go to them. It is not as if this can't happen. And so I don't want to do the same thing that Republicans were doing, which is this type of gloating. But I do think that Republicans are being a bit introspective, shall we say, because they have to be asking themselves what the hell happened. So former Republican National Committee Communications Director Doug Heye was looking at former President Donald Trump's effect on the GOP. He says, and he is blaming it for that red wave that never seemed to materialize. Here is Doug
You
Hyde.
go back to 2010 and 2012, where we saw a lot of these terrible first-time candidates that caused Senate races to fall by the wayside in Nevada, Delaware, Indiana, Missouri. And this is why Mitch McConnell was warning well in advance that we have a candidate quality problem. But what we've seen is a real intensification of this problem from top to bottom, not just Senate candidates, but House candidates, Secretary of State candidates, and governors and the like. And it's what I call the MyPillowization of the Republican Party. Is we've attracted these more cartoon characters, and if somebody speaking at a rally with a president or a presidential candidate is best known as a pillow salesman, run to high heaven, because you're going to see more of these cartoon characters who are trying to make money off of the party, become Instagram influencers and celebrities more than they are about being serious legislators. There's a reason Madison Cawthorn lost his primary in North Carolina. He telegraphed and said clearly, I'm not serious.
I'm not serious is what he ended up saying there. And that's exactly true. You can't have these kind of cartoon-like characters. And honestly, I know that there's some Trump supporters possibly that, followed me onto this show and used to listen to me on Station X. But Trump, I still maintain, was never a serious candidate. I think he tumbled in at the right time, caught fire with a certain group of people and was never really serious about making this country better. He wanted to make his bank account better. He wanted to make his brand better. He'd run before. He'd thrown his hat in the ring in primaries before, but something caught on in 2016 and got him. Now, Paul Ryan, who, of course, former House Speaker for the Republican Party, he said Republicans should have done better in the midterm elections. He calls Trump a drag on our ticket that contributed to the party's disappointing results. Now, Paul Ryan was being interviewed from Wisconsin by a local state in Wisconsin by a local station, WISN 12. He was happy to see DeSantis win in a landslide re-election, but he says that Republicans need to reflect on why a dominant performance did not happen elsewhere. Kayleigh McEnany, remember her? She was one of former President Trump's press secretaries. She's also kind of echoing this kind of turning on the former president. Here she is.
Fact that Fetterman, someone like him, could win. We've gone through his record. We've gone through some of the issues that he's been dealing with personally. It was stunning to see. The outstanding Senate races, let's say we pick up two of the three that you mentioned. There's a very real likelihood it could all come down to Georgia. And what does that give you heebie-jeebies of? That gives you heebie-jeebies of last time around in 2020. And let me just say this. Every ounce of Republican energy, every last ounce needs to go into that Georgia race because it could potentially be what makes or breaks the Senate, getting Herschel Walker over the finish line. I know there's a temptation to start talking about 2024. No. 2022 is not over.
Great point.
Every Republican energy needs to go to grinding the Biden agenda to a halt. And that could go straight through the state of Georgia on December 6th.
Does that include Trump?
I think he needs to put it on pause. Absolutely. Look, he'll make that decision.
Put him on
make
pause.
his own decision. But
does he go to
if
Georgia?
I'm advising any contender, DeSantis, Trump, whomever, no one announces 2024 until we get through December 6th.
Do you see the former president a need for him to go to Georgia?
I think we've got to make strategic calculations. Governor DeSantis, I think he should be welcome to the state, given what happened last night. You got to look at the realities on the ground. And Herschel Walker, we've got to win the Senate. That's it, guys. Got to win the Senate.
Herschel Walker. They are pinning their hopes on Herschel Walker. Now, you want to talk about cartoon characters. I mean, he was, I think this was a night of it was Tuesday night, and he was like quoting Ricky Bobby. I'm like Ricky Bobby. I don't come to lose.
Come on.
Ricky Bobby, by the way, in Talladega Nights was an idiot. So.
Sweet baby Jesus.
6 pound, 11 ounce, sweet baby Jesus. That's the one he likes to pray to. The Republican Party needs to put up candidates that have experience, that aren't token characters, which is what I maintain Herschel Walker is, a puppet. Herschel Walker, if he is elected, which Georgia, I don't understand, but if he is elected, he is a puppet for the GOP. He is a vote they can count on because they're going to tell him how to vote. You think he's coming with his own ideas of how to lead the state of Georgia or the country as a whole? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Calvin Wong, good point. Donate to the Warnock campaign to keep the seat blue.
And if you care, that's where you have to go, because we know that the Senate, the Republicans in the Senate did present national legislation for a national ban on abortion. And so if that is of concern to you, and if you want to make sure the Republicans don't get control of the Senate, then you have to step up and do things like that. Write those letters to the folks of Georgia and donate to the candidate that you're supporting. If that's what if you care, you got to step up.
You have to care about these things, right? And then, of course, there's the Trump endorsement. We played you that sound yesterday of Trump saying, if my endorsement wins the candidate, I won't get any praise. And if they lose, I'll get all the blame. I think there is some blame to go around. But apparently, New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman tweeted that former President Trump is indeed furious about his anticipated giant red wave not materializing in the midterm elections, with some of the candidates he endorsed obviously faring poorly. One was stupid Dr. Oz, another cartoon character, right? I mean, whatever. So Haberman, she was citing people close to Trump, tweeted that he is particularly furious about Oz and is blaming everyone who advised him to back Oz, including his wife, describing it as not her best decision.
It's all Melania's fault.
It's all Melania's fault. But now Trump is upset at Maggie Haberman. He's saying that's not true. She's this damn stupid liar. So he put out this on his stupid Truth Social. There's a fake story being promulgated. That's a ding word. By third-rate reporter Maggie It's Haberman, and she says Hageman of the failing New York Times.
Get the facts right. It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. That I'm blaming our great former First Lady Melania and Sean Hannity that I was angry with their pushing me to endorse Dr. Oz. First of all, Oz is a wonderful guy who really worked hard and was a very good candidate, but he was long in the race before I ever endorsed him. They had nothing to do with it. He was not a denier, his mistake, and I was not at all angry. Fake news. That sounds angry to me, if you want to ask me. But yeah, he's saying it's not true.
If people around him contacted the media to say, "Whoa, he's angry. He's yelling. He's blaming everyone but himself."
Of course.
I'm sorry, but you can not want the truth to get out. But when people around you are contacting the press to say this is happening, then I'm kind of more want to believe them than the guy who doesn't want that word to spread.
You think? Absolutely. I mean, I understand trying to make excuses for things, but I mean, come on, you endorsed Dr. Oz. He wasn't a good candidate. He needed to be an election denier. And I would say Oz dabbled in the election fraud conspiracy. So he just wasn't a worthy candidate. And when I played you that sound of Kayleigh McEnany, the former press secretary to former President Trump, saying, "I can't believe Fetterman won." Are you kidding? I can't believe you guys put up Dr. Oz. I mean, look at the candidates you're putting up. Then we have Boebert. And did you see this, Kim? Boebert is taking the lead in the Colorado House race. Now, it's still very close, but she's edged ahead of Democratic challenger Adam Frisch by over 400 ballots. And that's with 98% of the vote in.
That still could go either way. I mean,
that could go either way, and it could be, and a recount would be triggered if it's less than or equal to half a percentage point. So she had a 0.2% edge, so it'd go to a recount. I mean, it could go either way. I just still can't believe another unqualified, badass, crazy chick that's gonna,
But I like that it's kind of okay, so she's not the brightest bulb on the tree, but still.
No. And she's a conspiracy theorist.
So maybe she wouldn't take it this way. But if I were running and if it was that close, I would be thinking, oh, half my constituency had a problem with me because she's the incumbent, right?
Yeah.
So half my constituency wasn't happy with the job I did. How can I do better for them on their behalf as I represent them in this?
You're giving her way too much credit for
Washington,
giving a
DC.
crap about her job. No way.
Okay,
No
my
way.
bad. I'm sorry.
She doesn't care. I can't imagine. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. What have you done except needle the Democrats? I mean, is that why you're electing people? Maybe in these districts, that's all they want. They want someone that's going to go to Washington, yell, scream, and complain about conspiracy theories. But what's your track record besides that? What have you done? Nick, Kim with that optimism. Tisk, tisk. Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, a normal person would think that, right?
She's not normal.
A
She's
normal
not
person
normal.
would look at that close race and feel like, oh, like I might not even win here. Gosh.
Yes.
Right?
Go do something else.
I'm sure even if she wins by like 0 point whatever percent, all she'll care about is, I'm a winner.
I'm a winner. So now, of course, then people have to make excuses. So on election night, Tucker Carlson was calling out Arizona's Maricopa County. And we talked about this. They were having some issues with their tabulators. So let me play you a little bit of what Tucker Carlson was saying. Again, this was on election night. And okay, let's just listen to him first, because we also actually have a response.
Today in Maricopa County, where some huge percentage of voting machines, electronic voting machines, according to the Arizona Republic, 30%. They claim these are Dominion voting machines, but it almost doesn't matter. Electronic voting machines didn't allow people to vote, apparently. And that, whatever you think of it, the cause of it, it shakes people's faith in the system. That is an actual threat to democracy. And it points up the core problem, which is we're not really very serious about democracy if we're using electronic voting machines, or if we're not requiring photo ID to vote. We could have secure elections. We don't, because a small number of people don't want them. But until we do, you're going to have these moments where everybody in the country fears volatility because one side doesn't believe the result is real. And
So that's stupid Tucker Carlson, Mother Tucker over there, spewing some nonsense. So let's go to the experts. And this is what I wish people would do. I wish they would turn away from something like Fox News and figure out what the hell is going on. So they have the chairman, whose name is Bill Gates, and the recorder in Maricopa County, Stephen Richter. Okay. And they were addressing specifically what Tucker Carlson was talking about. And they went on Facebook, and this is what they had to say. Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go.
We've got about 20% of the locations out there where there's an issue with the tabulator, where some of the ballots that after people have voted them, they try and run them through the tabulator and they're not going through. But the good thing is we do, first of all, we're trying to fix this problem as quickly as possible. And we also have a redundancy in place.
Redundancies.
Put the ballot in the tabulator, then you can simply place it here in where you see the number 3. And this is a secure box where those ballots will be kept for later this evening, where we'll bring them in here to Central Count to tabulate them.
I love this guy on the right, though. He looks like he's been so disheveled, like he's just been run through the ringer. But these are the people that handle. These are the people that handle. Oh, could you not hear what he was saying? I hope that you could hear that.
It was really low.
Oh, was it low? I'm sorry. Basically, if you couldn't hear it, he was saying if it didn't go in the tabulator, there's a slot that's all secure, similar to when you turn in your ballot at the ballot box. It's a little slit. You can't get in there. You can't take it out. And then they count it.
Yeah.
Seems like they've done this before. It seems as if they've thought to themselves, what should we do if a machine breaks down? I mean, it happens.
We should have a backup plan. Oh, and we do.
Redundancies. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's the thing that I wish people would realize and trust, is that the people who dedicate their lives to running these elections know what they're doing. And it's important to keep sane people in those positions. And thankfully, in this election, we saw, a lot of election deniers not winning their seats. So that's a good thing. But it is still a worry that in the next coming elections, that this sort of thing is going to continue. Okay, coming up in about 5 minutes, we're going to switch gears just a bit. We'll get back to politics, don't worry. But Michael Hiltzik, who's a business columnist with the LA Times, is going to join us. And basically, even though, I laugh about Bitcoin and all these sorts of things, so many people are invested in these kind of crypto companies. And one of them, FTX, is collapsing. So Michael's going to join us and explain what the hell's going on in a language and using terms I hope we understand, and what the impact is going to be on all of us, if anything. Because guess what super ex couple has been caught up in all of this? Tom and Giselle. So they're taking a huge hit because of this. That's coming up. Smash that like button, that thumbs up right now. Click it, people. It really helps us out. Again, if you want to support the show, go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Donate to our Patreon. I was messing around yesterday. I'm going to try to get some merchandise, at the very least with our logo, maybe a t-shirt. I know Mark has coffee cups. I'm looking into it.
Are we getting Nikki merch?
I'm brainstorming. Let me say that. I'm brainstorming. I've got the logo, so I could definitely do the logo, but I was trying to get some sayings, and I didn't know how appropriate or inappropriate I really wanted to be.
I say very inappropriate. Always err on the side of inappropriate.
That's, it's kind of how I live my life, Kim McAllister, is living in the world of being inappropriate. So again, we'll talk crypto, we'll talk FTX right after the news with Kim McAllister.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. San Francisco-based vaping company Juul Labs announcing hundreds of layoffs today as that company deals with lawsuits, government bans of some of their products, and more competition. Juul says it has new financing to stay in business, but they'll be laying off at least 400 staffers. There are so few law enforcement officers in one California county that they are no longer going to be providing patrols during the daylight hours. It is happening in Tehama County, where the sheriff's office says that as of November 20th, there will be no daytime patrols anywhere in the county, only nighttime. That's because they have a huge staffing shortage. The sheriff's office in Tehama saying that over the last few years, the sheriff's office has had difficulties with recruitment and retention of employees, which has been directly linked to pay disparities.
Wow.
A sheriff's deputy in Tehama County makes between $25 and $30 an hour.
That is ridiculous.
Is that enough to put your life at risk?
No.
The county has a significantly higher crime rate than the state and national averages. Okay, so you want to pay me $25 an hour and in an area with a high crime rate? I don't think so.
I was reading that article because you sent it to me last night, and what I found to be extremely funny was they were trying to sell like the low pay with, but you get to be outside. It's like, yeah, no, I still need to pay my bills. So
you don't have to sit at a desk.
Yeah,
people can shoot at you on the side of the road, no problem.
No, thank you. That's awful.
So no more daytime patrols by the sheriff's office in Tehama County. Yeah, so noted going forward, driving through that area, right? Former President Trump dragging down Republican candidates, and that is what former House Speaker Paul Ryan told WISN News. The Wisconsin Republican said the GOP is dealing with a Trump hangover, adding that his party has a lot of soul searching to do to figure out what went wrong on Election Day. President Biden set to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping next week. The White House announcing President Biden will meet with Xi in Bali, Indonesia, on Monday during the G20 summit. The two set to discuss efforts to maintain and deepen lines of communication, as well as a range of regional and global issues. Elon Musk has plans to make Twitter a place where people can shop for goods and be offered money market accounts. Twitter's new owner floating the idea during an audio broadcast intended for major advertisers that have left or considered steering clear of the platform since Musk took over. What did you call it, Nikki? A Muskification?
Yeah. Muskification of Twitter.
Muskification. He said Twitter will likely need many commerce partners if it will eventually offer e-commerce features for users. And speaking of Mr. Musk, Tesla drivers will soon be able to video call directly from the car's touchscreen. Zoom announcing its software will be in Tesla's infotainment centers. According to CNN, the car will only show video when parked, but will enable audio only when driving. So you can't be on Zoom while you're driving around, but you can listen to
Okay.
the meeting. All right.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it initially seemed. This
Exactly.
report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve, whom we adore, has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call at 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can reach him on the web at moskowitzllp.com. And before we wrap up the news, I should let you know that I am keeping an eye on the San Jose mayor's race. Still no definitive result on that yet, with Matt Mahan over Cindy Chavez, but the lead is widening in that area, and we'll keep you abreast of the information as it comes in. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim McAllister. So, yes, again, click that thumbs up button really quickly while we get the show going. It helps us immensely on YouTube. Share it with all of your friends and your family. The show is we're going into our 4th week after the Station X flipped formats.
That's right. We're coming on 1 month.
Yeah, baby. So thanks for all the support and everybody tuning in. And we're really happy to get some great interviews, including people that can explain things to us in a way that I really hope we can understand. So there is a company called FTX. It's a crypto company, and it's about to collapse, or it has collapsed. Joining us now is Michael Hiltzik, LA Times business columnist, to explain the whole damn thing to us. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Nikki. It's good to see you up and about after the KGO.
Yeah.
debacle, so.
Well, we're happy to have you on. So thank you so much, because okay, look, I always say this when I talk about crypto. My level of knowledge goes as far as I bought a fraction of a Bitcoin and I watch it go up and down, and it reinforces my belief that I will never invest in cryptocurrency with all of my investments. But people have. So I want to start off with the headline about FTX and its potential collapse. For people that don't know, what is FTX in the world of crypto? How big is it?
Well, FTX was probably the 3rd biggest crypto exchange in the world, though it was far behind the largest exchange, which is basically a Chinese-based or a nation-based exchange called Binance. But it was an exchange, and what's important about it, I think, is not merely its size, but its owner and operator, a guy named Sam Bankman-Fried, who actually is the son of 2 law professors at Stanford, Professor Bankman and Professor Fried, as I understand it. He's an MIT grad. He had this great idea to plunge into crypto, and he became sort of the legitimate face of cryptocurrency. He testified before Congress. He contributed, I think, close to $1 billion, or rather $100 million to Democrats in the latest election cycle. He positioned himself to bail out crypto exchanges that had failed during a great Bitcoin and crypto meltdown of earlier this year. So he sort of looked legitimate. In fact, he looked like the most legitimate character in this whole space. Now, the problem is that over the last week or 10 days, FTX has essentially collapsed. It's been shown to basically be built on quicksand, as I put it. It's got something in the neighborhood of a $6 to $8 billion hole in its books, and that's a real threat to its depositors. It's struggling right now to find financing to get out of this hole. And at the moment, it doesn't look like it's actually secured any.
Oh, no.
Binance was going to essentially take it over and make good to its customers for the money they were owed. And then Binance got a close look at its books and said,
nope.
Thank you. So that's where things stand. Essentially, Bankman-Fried's fortune, which at one point was estimated to be as high as $22 billion in crypto, is now well below $1 billion. He's a busted flush.
Well, I mean,
at the
that,
moment.
that's still a lot of money. Okay, so he's apologized. I was reading some articles, including your own, and again, I will link that to all my social medias. But he seems to be apologizing and saying, I did something wrong. What did he do? You say it was built on quicksand. I mean, I personally think that Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme. So I think all of it is built on quicksand. But I know other people don't buy into that. But what went wrong? What did he do wrong? Okay, good.
Well, he did a number of things wrong. One thing was he sort of, I think you could fairly accuse him of having misrepresented the financial strength of his company. FTX is sort of the outward facing aspect of his empire. That's the entity that people who wanted to deposit or invest in cryptocurrencies would put their money into. But he also had another outfit called Alameda, which was his trading company. And what happened really brought all this crashing down was about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, a website that follows the crypto business got its hands on the balance sheet, that is the assets and liabilities of Alameda, and discovered that more than half of the $14 billion that they claimed to have in assets were in a crypto token, really a cryptocurrency that FTX had created and controlled. So in other words, Alameda was based on FTX's token, which
so they created the token and then put all their assets into the token that they created.
Yeah, something like that. And of course, to the extent that the price or the value of this token was under FTX's control, essentially there was nothing really there that you could rely on. That started this sort of cascade of problems. Binance, which held what at the time was something in the neighborhood of $530 million worth of this token, said, made a public announcement and said, we're selling it all. We're getting completely out of this token. That prompted customers of FTX to want their money back. So they put in withdrawal orders to the extent of something like $6 billion just in the course of 72 hours. And of course, just like a bank, Bankman-Fried did not have that money to hand out, to give back. So he said, we're freezing withdrawals. We're going to, we have a backlog. We'll get around to you sooner or later. And essentially the whole edifice came crashing down.
So now, what kind of regulation is there on this? We had one of our viewers saying, is this going to be investigated by the SEC? This whole idea of decentralized finance is, I guess, would beg the question. I mean, who's watching these companies to make sure people don't take it in the shorts? Like, obviously, these people that were investing in FTX.
Well, the problem is, as you certainly, I think you put your finger on it, is that there is not sufficient regulation. The cryptocurrency industry or cryptocurrency fans and promoters basically say, we're not like stocks and bonds, we're not like banks, so we don't really need all of the regulations that stock and bond trading and the banks have to undergo or have to face from the government. We're okay, we can do it on our own. They've gone to Congress with proposals. In fact, Bankman-Fried had a proposal for regulation that would amount to less regulation than they already have. The SEC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which is the CFTC, the Consumer Financial Protection Board, have all said we need to bring these operations firmly under our umbrella. The SEC and the CFTC have announced that they are investigating FTC over this disaster. So that's a problem right there, or at least that's a sign that they're aware of it. the SEC, the CFTC, all these regulators have said we cannot allow these guys to operate the way they have without adequate regulation. You can say that, in fact, if you really look at what the cryptocurrency exchanges and investment firms do, they are legally subject to SEC and CFTC oversight. It's just that the regulatory agencies haven't had the resources to actually subject them to the kind of regulation that they're empowered to do. So,
well, hopefully that'll change, right? I mean, I would hope they would put the resources to be able to do that before something like this happens to the next crypto company, correct?
Well, they need to get those resources from Congress, and Congress has got to vote them in. Up to now, there have been, a lot of people in Congress who have bought into the crypto argument, in part because crypto firms are out there just spending, millions and millions of dollars to lobby them, contributing to their campaigns. And Bankman-Fried, as I said, is one of the leaders. And when you contribute that sort of money, when you lobby to that extent, you get listened to on Capitol Hill. I think it's reasonable to hope, or at least we should hope, that this crash of the guy who looked like the most legitimate actor in this space will wake up congressmen and senators to their responsibilities to stop trying to lighten regulations on these guys and to allow them to be really overseen.
Well, I mean, and I don't know if you heard, but I'm going to assume that you heard that Tom Brady and his ex-wife Giselle, they were, they apparently they had huge equity stakes in FTX, and so they're losing a lot, right? So if celebrities and all these athletes that want to get paid in Bitcoin and all that crap, I mean, if they start becoming the face of the losses, maybe that will also spur change.
Well, there was this trend, through really mid-year this year. Really up to now, in which crypto firms would spend a lot of money to make themselves look legitimate. Right. The Super Bowl, there were a lot of commercials for crypto firms, including FTX, which had a big Super Bowl ad. FTX, I don't know if Tom Brady and his wife, maybe soon to be ex-wife, Giselle Bundchen, money for their equity stake, or if they were given their equity stake by FTX, basically to be marketing promoters of this operation. FTX paid for the naming rights for the Miami arena where the Miami Heat play. It's now the FTX arena. Just as we've seen another firm, Crypto.com, paid for the naming rights to what was the Staples Center here in Los Angeles, which is now Crypto.com Arena. And this is an industry trying to make itself look clean and look legitimate. And I've written about this, and I've said just because their names are on these stadiums does not give them legitimacy. Legitimacy really has to flow in the other direction. They have to get legitimate, and then we can admire them for having their name on a football stadium or a basketball arena.
Do you think that there's going to be a turning of the tide against crypto? Do you think that crypto is here to stay, or do you think it could kind of go the way, as one of our viewers is saying, like a pet rock? I mean, is this just kind of flash in the pan type of thing, and we gave it a shot and people see it for what I and you see it as, which is nonsense?
Well, I don't know if it's going to go away sooner or later, but I think the basic problem with crypto is that nobody to this moment has produced a use argument for it. In other words, no one has really explained in any cogent way what this stuff is good for. It hasn't been shown to be good for anything. This decentralized, non-central bank system that crypto promoters say is the way to go, it just has not been shown to be sound. The advantages that the crypto promoters say crypto has for consumers is completely the opposite. It's bad for consumers. If you buy something with Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency, you don't have any recourse if you don't get what you paid for. as you would if you used a credit card. You could always go to the credit card issuer and say, this vendor did not deliver, and the credit card would charge it back, and they would give you your money back, and then they would go after the vendor to for the money they took. You can't do that with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. It's non-recourse. Once you've paid it over, you cannot undo that transaction, even if it turns out to be fraudulent. That's a big problem. And there's no one, as I said, has ever, from the beginning right up to the present day, explained why we need this stuff, what it's good for, what it accomplishes. It's not simpler than using dollars or credit cards. It's a lot more complicated.
Exactly.
It's just a waste of time, and I think ultimately it's going to all fall apart. And I think the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried, who was riding high as the guy who made sense, turns out basically to be a spouter of the same BS that the others. That all the others have been spouting really is going to knock at least one major pillar out from under this whole edifice.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, Michael. I think that, I wish it would kind of go away. I know there's people, they post those pictures with the laser eyes, and that's supposed to show that, in my opinion, you're an idiot that's investing in this nonsense. But yeah, I don't know if it'll go away, Michael, but thank you for explaining it. I'm glad we're sitting on the same side of this opinion, because I didn't want to debate you too much about how I think it's a pyramid scheme. But
can I say, how Michael Hiltzick's the real deal? That office. That is the office of a newspaper guy. And I mean, that is legit right there.
Yeah, we should do like a scavenger hunt.
It's one of my many bookcases, and not by any means
I love it.
Room rater, 10 out of 10, Michael. I'm telling you, 10 out of 10. Michael Hiltzick with the LA Times business columnist. I will link you to his article explaining all of this crypto nonsense and the collapse of FTX. Michael, thank you so much. Come back on the show real soon.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. All right. Yeah. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah.
Stop investing in the. I mean, again, and full disclosure, I say this every time I talk about crypto. I do own a fraction of one Bitcoin as entertainment. It's like buying a lottery ticket. But no way in hell would I put my paycheck, right? I'm not going to take. And every time people say, no, it's the future, blah, blah, you know how much money you can make? I made a fortune on Bitcoin. Yeah, because you tapped out, you got your money out. The dollars that you use to buy the stuff in the real world that you like. That's how you do it. But there's a couple of questions. Let me go through some of the comments. Yeah, I was mentioning the pet rock, but that wasn't my joke at all. Oh, it was Mo Directs. Cryptocurrency, just like pet rocks. A 3-year pop and then gone.
So how much did you pay for your cryptocurrency, and what was the highest rate it ever got to?
Okay. So I spent $50. I think I spent $50. Just and whatever that got me at the time. I don't remember how much Bitcoin was when I purchased it, but I spent like $50. And I think the highest it's ever gotten, I want to say maybe even $1,000. So, I mean, no, it got up there, and I understood the desire. If I had a big chunk of change,
sure,
I would make bank. I get that. I understand that aspect. But it's this other aspect of just what Michael Hiltzick was saying. Why do you need it? Somebody's getting rich on it. And there was another question about that they don't understand cryptocurrency. Liz L. I know nothing about cryptocurrency. Are Bitcoin and Dogecoin the same? Now, Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency. Dogecoin is a type of cryptocurrency. You can make any kind you want to. Like Elon Musk, I think, was behind the whole promoting of the Dogecoin. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that.
Could we make our own cryptocurrency? Like, do we have to back it with anything? Do we
you
have to
have
have a safe full of gold in order to, make it legit?
You have to have servers. I mean, there's Bitcoin mining. It's cryptocurrency. It's the blockchain technology is what they're using to, I want to say, create these Bitcoins. So, and it does have a huge environmental impact because of all of the electricity that they're using to do this mining, which is apparently huge servers that are going through these mathematical equations that are creating this nonsense. It's way more complicated than
that's where you lose
just creating
me. I don't know
dollars.
what that means.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to wrap your head around. Just believe me when I say I think people understand pyramid schemes. I got in at Bitcoin or whatever Bitcoin at $1. Okay. And now it's $1 billion. Well, obviously your one is not worth the same as somebody else's one. And when people could steal it by getting your code, or you could lose it by losing your password or your key, that's not money I want to invest in. That's just not what I'm going to do.
That seems like even a more precarious deal than the property in the metaverse we were talking about yesterday.
It's the same crap, though. It's them trying.
At least in the metaverse, you can change your password. You always know where your fake house is, right?
No, you're spending real money in a fake world. You're using real money to buy fake money. You're using real money to buy fake real estate, betting that there's going to be enough morons like you that come after you. Like you want
Nikki,
more morons to come after you.
Open your mind, sister. What is real money? Not go in there.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But no, it's the FDIC. It is the backing of money. It is the gold standard. It is all of these things that we have that help prop up our economy and our dollar. Bitcoin, it just gets me all hot and bothered.
And I hear you, and I'm on your side, and I completely agree with you. But I can also understand the thought that money is the value we give it, right? At the beginning, what was a coin worth? Well, it was a piece of gold. What was that gold worth? Why was it valuable? So we create things that we think are valuable. We ascribe it value, right?
Yes.
So I think you just have a whole new way of putting value on things. And I think a lot of people like you and I are just not buying what they're selling. We're not going along for that ride.
Hell no, I am not buying. No, I will buy all kinds of crap. Look, I bought a lottery ticket, knowing damn well I wasn't going to friggin' win.
I bought more than one, right?
I bought a lot of them, right? I get that. I get standing in line with another bunch of morons, right? Buying a ticket for a prize.
Because it was a crack at real $2 billion, not fake. That's not fake. That's real.
Not fake. That's not fake. That's real. Exactly. So and the thing, and I'm just going to leave it at this because I think I've made it abundantly clear how I feel about cryptocurrencies. It's just like gambling. It's just like that. Don't invest what you can't stand to lose. Okay, people? So don't call up your boss, Tom Brady, if he did it, or we saw Warriors, right? Who was it? Iguodala, I think. I think there was a couple Warriors players that were getting their paychecks in cryptocurrency or in Bitcoin.
What? Pay me in Bitcoin? Yeah.
Yeah, pay me in Bitcoin.
You can buy a Tesla in Bitcoin.
I mean, there's the gas station down the street from my house has a sign in front of it that says, "We accept Bitcoin." I go, no, you don't. Like, I was like, nobody's doing that.
Well, allow me to give you the $50 Bitcoin I bought 10 years ago. Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you whatsoever. All right. We are going to do some news at the top with Kim McAllister. We have a lot of show coming back up. We want to get back into a little of the reaction from Election Day. And also, I want to talk about President Biden. Now, he has said, I mentioned earlier, that he is not planning to announce whether or not he's going to run until early next year, which is smart. We have to get through Georgia and the runoff and those sorts of things. But we're going to hear from political analyst Bakari Sellers. And he was doing one of these roundtable discussions. And he was talking about why he thinks Biden may not run. Also, who came out in droves for the Democrats? Apparently, unmarried women and young voters. So we'll get some reaction to that. That's
everyone affected by the right to choose. Imagine that.
Imagine that. A bunch of people that care about where this world is going. We do want to touch, we went from Bitcoin to Elon Musk and Dogecoin, but we're going to talk a bit about Twitter. What's happening with all these different types of check marks. He sent an email. All right. He sent an email to Twitter staff talking about remote work, and it wasn't an email I'm sure they wanted to receive. There is an artist that is once again targeting Twitter's headquarters with a type of, I guess you could call it graffiti, although he doesn't use spray paint. And so we'll also talk about changes coming to another big company that's kind of disrupted everything, which of course is Airbnb. And the CEO has been responding to some criticism from those that are renting out all of those homes. That is all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube. But first, some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street. The Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. President Biden says he will make a final decision on whether to run for a second term early next year. While speaking to reporters at the White House, President Biden said his intention is to run again, but that ultimately it will be a family decision. He says he is not in any hurry to announce that one way or another. Speaker of the House admits the midterm elections may alter the conversation about climate change. Republicans could retake the House while control of the Senate. That's still an open question. Speaking in Egypt, Nancy Pelosi, California Democrat, Speaker of the House, noting opposition in the GOP to climate investments in the Inflation Reduction Act. The Southeast bracing for severe weather from Tropical Storm Nicole. The Florida Panhandle, Georgia, and the Carolinas are all in that storm's path. They're expecting some damaging winds and flooding rain from that former hurricane. If the nation has a rail strike, it won't happen before Thanksgiving. 4 major rail unions agreeing to coordinate the date that they could go on strike. The Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way employees had been ready to strike as soon as November 20th. That's the Sunday before Thanksgiving. The last ever Atlas V rocket lifted off from Vandenberg Space Force Base in Southern California this morning. It was carrying 2 payloads into orbit. A satellite called JPSS-2 shared liftoff with NASA's Lofted. The JPSS-2 will gather a variety of weather and climate data critical in forecasting severe weather and wildfire behavior. Lofted is an inflatable heat shield technology. It's being tested for atmospheric entry and re-entry. A couple of hours after liftoff, Lofted was bobbing in the Pacific Ocean about 500 miles from Hawaii. That successful landing back on Earth reveals the technology is now ready to be used on other NASA missions. Inflatable heat shields could aid landings on other worlds with atmospheres like Mars, Venus, and Titan. There's a growing number of high school students in California that are dual enrolling in college courses. While the trend is growing, numbers show there could be racial disparities that exist in accessibility to dual enrollment programs. According to analysis from EdSource, the rise in dual enrollment has steadily risen since 2015, when just more than 48,000 enrolled. In 2021, that number rose to more than 114,000. The numbers do show 59 of the 72 districts analyzed had a lower percentage of Latino high school students, and 52 of the districts had a lower percentage of Black students. And this report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve a call. It's 888-TAX-DEAL, or you can go online and find him at MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
That is correct. MoskowitzzLLP.com. So big thanks to Steve Moskowitz and to all of you who have been supporting the show. I want to give some shout outs right now for people that are in the live chat donating money to the show. Kung Fu Femmes, $10 with that super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. William Lundgren with $20 in the live chat. I love you. I love you. I love you. And then we have Andreas. 2, not 1, but 2 $50 donations to the Nikki Medoro Show. You guys are amazing. If you want to know, you guys can also donate. I'm correct, right, Kim? You can donate even if you're watching this not live. Correct?
I think you can. Yeah, you need to. So you can watch it even if you don't have a YouTube account.
Right.
But if you do have a YouTube account, then there's other ways to, click the heart button and the money button and the whatever else. So yes.
Exactly. And I know a lot of you are watching on Facebook for the second time. We're going to do this all the time now. I am live streaming the show right now on Facebook as well. But because on Facebook, it's not linked to the YouTube, I can't see your comments as live. So you might want to come to YouTube and join the community here. And if you want to donate, all of the links are in the YouTube description as well as the Facebook description. There's a direct link to the channel, the YouTube channel. There's also a direct link to our Patreon, where so many of you have become monthly subscribers to the Nikki Medoro Show.
And we're so thankful for that.
Oh my God, we are so thankful. It is, it's seriously what we need to keep doing the show. So if you want all the details, you can also go to my website, thenikkimedoroshow.com, thenikkimedoroshow.com. Another reminder, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and I am looking for any sort of thank yous that you want to give to the veterans in your life, or if you're a veteran. I'd love to hear some stories about why you decided to serve your country in this way. And my question tomorrow that I want to discuss, and if you would like to send me a voice memo, you can absolutely do that by sending it to the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com, and I'll actually play your voice on the show. Do you think it's different joining the military service in the year 2022? And why or why not? Do you think that people are promoting it? Families are promoting it in the same way, because we need these men and women to serve. But we also know there's controversy within the military. They have a sexual assault problem on their hands with women that serve in the military. We're talking about gay and transgender rights. And then, of course, just politics in America right now. So what does it mean to be a veteran or to serve in the military in this generation? And so if you want to email me, you can email me. If you want to hear your voice on tomorrow's show, send me a voice memo at thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. And I do want to say to my animal co-anchor over here, happy birthday, Nugget. It's Nugget's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Nugget.
Happy birthday, handsome boy. Yes. Okay. So let's move on, shall we? I did want to actually show some comments for people. We were talking before Kim's news regarding cryptocurrency. And Michael Hiltzik with the LA Times was with us talking about the collapse of FTX, which is the hugest in the United States crypto company, and it's going bankrupt. The Mark Thompson Show is listening in and was saying, you make a very good point, Kim, that we give currency legitimacy. And we do. We give it legitimacy, and we also back it with what? Regulations, right?
Yeah.
There's people overseeing it. Let's see. John Radley wrote in, look what happened with Seth Green. His NFTs got stolen. He had no real recourse to get them back. He had a whole show based around them, and it couldn't move forward. It's all a Ponzi scheme. Exactly. Now then we have William. He says he made $8,500 on Dogecoin, which is a type of
That's pretty good. I mean, take it and run, right?
I mean, unless he put $10,000 in it. I don't know.
No, that's not making 8,500. No.
That's very, very true. Okay, so now I want to get into the election. So I've received two things in the chat about this, and I want to get into it. So because of who turned out on election day for Democrats and not Republicans, unmarried women and young voters, okay, there has been at least some person, let me show you it. This is what was actually on Twitter. And I don't know this woman, so part of me like giving a little bit of pause of even elevating this. But where did it go? Oh, did I not have it? Anyways, here it is. Here it is. Raising the voting age. So this is what was being shared and shared alike on Twitter from this Bridget Gabriel at ACT Bridget. Raise the voting age to 21. Not only would that violate the 26th Amendment, right? It really points to where Republicans feel their weaknesses are, right? If you want to raise the voting age, what is that telling the rest of us? It's telling the rest of us that you don't think that you can win with young voters, or as Jack, and I'm going to mispronounce his name because I don't ever listen to him. He's a total right winger. Posobiec? I think that's how you pronounce it. You'll know if you see his name, you'll know it. So he was doing this kind of roundtable discussion about what went wrong during the last election. And the thing that he was pointing to was the women, right? Specifically the unmarried women. So here he is.
Unmarried women, so horrible.
I know, right? It's so funny because they seem to be pointing the finger out so many times. It's not coming up, so I'm not even going to do it. But
hey, you know what? Here's a great idea. If you don't want women to vote against you, don't piss us off.
Don't take away our rights. How about that? Don't take away our rights. I mean, obviously, women came out in droves. Why? Because we don't want people, men, remember yesterday, Roe v. Bros, men who don't even understand how a woman's body works, making decisions about what we can do with our bodies. It has nothing, and I have this conversation with people so many times. I understand if you believe abortion is murder. I understand that emotion and that belief. That does not change the fact that if I am pregnant, and in consultation with my doctor and my family and what have you, I make the decision. That is my freedom. I am a living, breathing human being and I should have control over it. Okay, so here is the sound of him, of course, blame everybody else except the party and the candidates that are promoting nonsense ideas.
You saw how unmarried women went for the left in droves, something like 37 points, the 68% win. Okay. The left literally wants to turn everyone into an unmarried woman. Literally.
That's a trans joke, of
you
course.
know what I mean?
What? Oh,
stupid.
They want to do because that's how they win. So that shame, that regret, that bitterness, that anger that's just kind of there, the super pro-abortion vote, that's what they want to maximize throughout the country. I'm not saying all unmarried women like that, by the way. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
We got a lot of hate earlier when I said that.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. The guy's a total tool.
I mean, he's wearing
cool.
one of them's wearing a Carrie Lake for governor jacket. So, right off the bat, we've got a big problem. But look, he's wrong. And he doesn't get it. He's too stupid to realize that in 5 states, I'm not talking California, but I'm talking states like Michigan,
right?
States like Wisconsin, abortion rights were upheld. These are conservative states. And so women are coming out of the woodwork saying, you know what? No. As a matter of fact, I'm doing the show from my mom's house today because she was having a couch delivered.
Oh, nice.
And she was running little notes down to me. And she wrote me this note saying she was reading the paper this morning. It says only 1 in 10 asked say that abortion should be illegal in all cases. 6 in 10 say the Supreme Court decision made them dissatisfied or angry. So what you have here transcends party.
Exactly.
We're not talking Democrat. We're not talking Republican. The abortion issue is really no longer a partisan issue. It's a gender issue. Okay. So when women come out and tell you no, maybe you ought to listen. How about that? Jackass.
Exactly. Thank you, Kim. Overturning Roe v. Wade was extremely unpopular even before it happened. Most of America, while they did have reservations about quote unquote late-term abortions, did believe in, allowing women the right to choose, especially early on in the pregnancy. So this whole movement towards overturning Roe was a Republican talking point that kind of got voters out. It actually happening has backfired on them. And you want to tell people that have only known a world with reproductive freedom that they no longer have it? Of course, these voters are going to come out for Democrats. So here is President Biden. And of course, this was, on, I think it was election night or the following day, kind of talking about just this exact thing of the young vote.
And I especially want to thank the young people of this nation who I'm told, I haven't seen the numbers, voted historic numbers again. And just as they did 2 years ago. And they voted to continue addressing the climate crisis, gun violence, their personal rights and freedoms, and the student debt relief.
So, obviously that means, and
Nugget's freaking out. Nugget's freaking out a little bit.
I put a sign on my damn door that says, do not ring this damn doorbell. All of the time. It's a hot pig no. It's okay. It's his birthday. Hello. Happy birthday. Come here. Come. Say hi to everybody. Come here. Here. He's going to come. Look.
Chill out, Nugget. You're all right.
So obviously young voters are coming out because they don't want this world to be what it is. They want a political party that is going to fight for, like the president mentioned, climate change. They understand the climate crisis. Look at Hurricane Nicole. You keep talking about it in Florida. What is DeSantis's answer to Hurricane Nicole? Yes, infrastructure hardening, which you have to do if you live in hurricane country. I absolutely agree. But you can also address the climate crisis that makes these storms stronger. And it's going to take time and it's not going to happen overnight. But I can't imagine DeSantis being president of this country and not saying the words climate change. And then with reproductive freedom, these young adults know that they want this freedom and they're going to vote accordingly.
So John Watson writes in, all these conservative talk shows have people sitting around agreeing with themselves, which is why they were so stunned when they lost. So I thought to myself, all right, John, just because I don't want to be one of those talk shows where we're agreeing with ourselves, let me try in my mind to take the side of people who are upset that unmarried women came out to vote. And I legitimately can't, usually I can think of an argument on the other side. I can go, okay, I can understand how they think thing X. I can't for the life of me make their argument for them. And maybe that's a downfall of myself. Like maybe, I'm in the wrong here, but I can't think why it's a bad thing that unmarried women would go out and vote. I can't think of why it would be a bad thing that young people who are the most affected by fertility issues would want to have a say in the matter, would want to make a point, would want to say, listen, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, what have you. If I get pregnant, I want the choice. I don't want to sit around agreeing with ourselves, but I just can't make that argument of that on the other side. I can't do it.
Yeah. No, I think that the problem is, and we could blame my husband who's coming home for my birthday boy dog Nugget for barking right now.
Hi, Mr. Nikki.
Hello, honey. Welcome home. But no, I think you make an excellent point, Kim. We have to look at what people want from their government and what they want their country to look like. And I think that, especially with some of these Republican candidates, they're kowtowing to the minority. They're kowtowing to a talking point that gets clicks and views and all those sorts of things. But I don't think it fundamentally addresses what Americans want their country to look like. And that needs to change. And I don't know how it happens. And I'm not going to toot our own horn here, Kim. But the problem is,
why not?
There needs to be a counter to conservative talk radio. There needs to be a counter to Fox News.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
it's Mark, it's you,
talk,
it's me. That's who it is. Yeah. And notice the station that's still on the air in San Francisco.
Right.
It's the one spouting all the crap.
And what's interesting, and just to kind of put a little bow on that opinion, the conservative Cumulus station, right? Still up and running, syndicating conservative talk. It's not as if they made Station X syndicate liberal talk. And why didn't they? Because for some reason, I know all of our viewers and listeners are supporting this show, but we need to mobilize. And I'm not talking about creating another echo chamber, but what I am saying is to have a counter to the nonsense conspiracies that are being spewed on the other side. We need to raise up our voice and say, we are speaking for a lot of Americans out there who are being drowned out by conspiracy, Fox News, Tucker Carlson, Mother Tuckers out there. And that's a problem.
You said truckers, yeah?
Tucker. I call him
okay.
Tucker.
Oh, goodness. Heather writes in, they're just threatened by the concept of women who are independent and who don't follow the conservative life script. And I think, Heather, you are right on the money, sister. I do believe that when women start standing up, when women start, taking control, then it is scary for some people. In the same way, you heard him make a trans joke in there.
Exactly.
Anybody different, anybody who has a different, has power, anybody who's trying to change the way things are, that is scary to them because they want things the way they have always been.
And do you see how he said an unmarried woman as if it was an insult? As if that's an insult to be an unmarried woman in America. Oh, they want to turn everybody into an unmarried woman. An unmarried woman, an independent, self-sufficient woman that is, obviously making enough money, living on her own, a powerful woman. That is the most fearful thing, I guess, to
a woman who doesn't need a man. God forbid. But that's also really offensive to married women. What it's saying is, okay, little lady, you got a man now to tell you what to do and to, tell you how to vote and tell you how to think. Well, screw that. It doesn't matter whether I'm married or unmarried. I'm the same independent woman I've always been.
Exactly.
That guy just really made my blood boil.
I know. That's why I played it. I knew it was going to make me, because it's those types of things that, are shared and reshared and tap into, I think, a fear that is largely, and I don't want to say just white and male, but male. And in this othering of, oh my God, the women are coming or the young voters are coming. So the Edison.
Or the Latinos are coming.
Or they're
right?
replacing you
Lord.
as if you're the default. And that's the thing that people need to get out of their heads. There's a certain segment of this population that thinks that they should be the default. Well, if I'm not getting the job, if I'm not getting that scholarship, if I'm not getting that seat at the table that I deserve, that I am owed, then that person's the problem. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're just not chosen. Maybe the reality that so many other people have lived with for generations is now kind of balancing out. And you will find yourself sometimes not on the winning side. And it doesn't mean that you're being replaced. It means that the competition is possibly in small ways becoming more fair.
Is your life really that different if some woman in some other city gets pregnant and wants to have an abortion? Is your life really so different if a trans person can use the restroom without fear? Is your life so different if there are immigrants, in your city? No, you're living the same life that have always lived. Oh, there's an interesting text from Eichelberg. Unmarried women equals someone who rejected an incel. Oh, because unmarried women didn't want you, and that's why you're fighting back.
Think.
You're
that's
throwing
what they
punches?
probably think. Well, there was just a story, and I forgive me because I was going to bring it up, and maybe I'll find it for tomorrow. But it was this guy. And he's videotaping himself with an interaction with police. And he's talking about how he wanted to sing this song to some female coworker, and she got freaked out, told him no, kind of called the cops on him. And he is just he's against himself, but saying, no, she should want to hear this song. Oh, when women say no, they really mean yes. This mentality that some men have, not all men, all the men that listen to my show are awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there are some men.
Especially you, Flo. We know you.
Exactly. That think this way. Oh no, women want to be overpowered. When they say no, they mean yes. I deserve to be able to be heard, have her hear my song, go out on a date, have sex with her. Give it up. This is 2022 and women are strong. They have a voice. They are speaking. They don't need to be spoken over. And that's hard for some people. I would say men and women, some men and women, although I would say largely men, to accept. There was the statistic out of the Edison Research National Election Pool looking at voters who supported Democrats. 63% of voters age 18 to 29 supported Democrats. 89% of Black youth, 68% of Latino youth voted for Democratic House candidates, with the oldest Gen Zers turning 25 this year. This group includes the youngest millennials and those Zoomers of voting age. And they're also finding that President Biden's student loan forgiveness, it being put at risk if Republicans get control, could have had a lot of Gen Z flocking to the polls to save the relief that they so desperately need. And so when you have a political party responding to the needs of the electorate, responding to the desires of the American voter, instead of pointing the finger at problems with no real solutions, who do you think these people are going to flock to? And, I am worried. I'll be honest. I am worried about 2024. I don't know what President Biden is going to do. I really, really don't. It's a bit scary to think that, one, he could be primaried. Okay, so Bakari Sellers is a CNN analyst, okay? And I'm going to play you some sound because...
You think that's really going to happen? I mean, how offensive would that be?
Well, okay. So, now listen to what he has to say. So first off, Bakari Sellers was talking about why he thinks President Biden may not run. So here's what he had to say. Just listen.
We have to remember that in 2020, Joe Biden won an abbreviated campaign because of COVID. And so he wasn't in every diner in Iowa. He didn't have to go to every SEC Tuesday state. I mean, the campaign is a monster in itself. And the question, I'm not saying that he can't do it. The question he has to answer is, does he want to go through that and go through, primary debates? Because he's going to be primary.
And go through primary debates. And again, they were questioning just what you were. You really think he's going to be primary?
I'm going to support him in that primary, but he's going to be.
He's going to get primaried?
Of course.
By a serious
who?
candidate?
Did Hillary Clinton get primaried?
Hillary
But she wasn't incumbent
It doesn't
president.
even matter if the candidate is serious or not.
But Barack
There's
Obama
going
didn't
to be
get
somebody.
primaried. Bill Clinton didn't get primaried.
There's going to be somebody. There's going to be somebody. This is not Bill Clinton or Barack Obama's Democratic Party anymore. I wish it was. There are a lot of us who are going to support Joe Biden. Let's be extremely
But who
clear.
would primary him?
I feel firm in the belief that he'll get primaried from the left. There'll be somebody from the left who says that he did not.
Maybe a more progressive.
And the problem is you have to deal with that. You have to deal with that in a Democratic primary. You have to run the race. You have to do the debates. And that takes a toll on you, to bring up my larger thing.
And he was saying, to bring up my larger point, is that if President Biden has to campaign in a traditional way, which he did not do last time because of COVID. Remember, Trump kept making fun of him. Oh, he's hiding in his basement. No, COVID was happening. But it is true. He didn't have to go to all these different places. And that takes a toll on an older guy. So then who is it? Is it a more progressive? Who are you thinking? I doubt it'll be Bernie Sanders, right? I don't think that he's going to run again.
No.
Who could it be? I mean, I don't see Pete Buttigieg as a progressive enough to primary President Biden. I just don't.
The three names being floated around are Buttigieg, Harris, and Newsom. And I don't know if they have the national, the ability to pull that national vote in. And honestly, I mean, if President Biden decides not to run again, that's one thing. But I can't see any of those candidates stepping up to the plate against him. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be someone that is, and the only name that I think of like leading the progressives is someone like AOC, which I also do not see stepping in to a presidential campaign at this point at all. So who would it be? And if it's nobody, then it would have to be Harris, right? I mean, if Biden decides I don't want to run again, and he's deciding that, then it's going to be Kamala Harris. And then is Kamala Harris going to be able to beat DeSantis, which is who it's looking like it's going to be, especially following the lack of a red wave in these midterms with Trump's endorsement. So DeSantis against Harris?
Here you have here's some what ifs. You could have, I mean, it's a possibility, I suppose, that you would have someone like Liz Cheney, who no longer fits with the Republican Party the way it is right now. Her ideas may be Republican in nature, but maybe she flips to a Democrat. Maybe you have a conservative Democrat who steps up against Biden. That's a possibility. Pie in the sky, but could be.
Yeah, Karen D has been given some suggestions that I like. Katie Porter, Stacey Abrams, that's another one. I mean, if he ran Eichelberg, he'd have my vote. And we're talking about Matthew, my kind of hottie. But although I'm half kidding, I do want him to have some more political experience. He is someone that I think could be a moderate, right? That could kind of bridge between Democratic ideals and Republican ideals. I think he would appeal to obviously Texans because he's from Texas. He can speak their language, but at the same time understands like things like common sense gun reform. And I don't know his views on Roe v. Wade, but I'm pretty sure that he's pro-choice.
Talking about bringing out the vote of the women. Here we come to the polls.
Yeah, Governor Whitmer, Gretchen Whitmer, right? I mean, possibly the map might work out in her favor.
These are people who aren't going to stand up against President Biden. They're not going to go against the Democratic National Committee. That would be political suicide.
But
if he decides not to run, then yeah.
So, I mean, he'd have to debate or Harris would have to debate in a primary. And that's a lot. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to call out Kamala Harris on what? I mean, President Biden, and I know there's some of you that disagree, the things he's done in this first presidency are huge, given just starting with the fact of the vaccine rollout and getting us on the other side of COVID. Yes, we're dealing with record inflation. And yes, we still have huge problems. But with climate change, moving manufacturing back, all of these issues that Americans have said they wanted addressed by the administration. I mean, you can't say he hasn't been getting stuff done. He has. Belma, President Biden should not run. He must pass the torch to a new generation who will be in charge of solving problems in the future. Okay, who, Vilma? Who would you vote for that's not going to hurt the Democratic Party and can go up against DeSantis? Karen Cooper, President Biden's done a lot of good and has brought back some sanity. Absolutely. Oh my God, he was like a palate cleanser, right? Of former President Trump.
A breath of fresh air.
Right. Randy, Harris couldn't even get out of the early Democratic primaries for 2020. Very true. I'm nervous about a Harris ticket. I am. But who she chooses as a running mate could make all of the difference. If it was a Harris Buttigieg, a Harris Warren, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be Amy Klobuchar, possibly. John Hickenlooper, possibly. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see. And again, President Biden is not expected to announce until early next year. And one of the analysis I was looking at, they were saying that he actually looked at the first lady and was like, we're going to make a family decision. And I wonder how she feels about it. Because I've said it before, and I'll say it a million times, I have never believed that Biden wanted to run for 2 terms. Never. I don't think he wants to be a lame duck and all those sorts of things and say it too early. But no way in hell did he want to run for 2 terms. No way. He wants to set up Harris to run. I just don't know if she's the right person for the job. All right, we're going to do a quick news update. Click that thumbs up button to support the show. Please do it right now while you're thinking about it. It's just a simple click. Smash that little button. Just hit the thumbs up. It helps us. The Super Chat is live. We have been giving shout outs to everyone who has been donating to the show during the show. I believe you can do it even if you're watching the recording. Look for that little dollar symbol right underneath the chat box, and that's a way you can support the show. And then, of course, go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com and support our Patreon. Become a monthly Patreon subscriber. It helps us so very much, and we always, always appreciate everybody that's been able to do it. All right, more coming up. Plus, Elon Musk, the Muskification of Twitter continues. But first, these headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. Wall Street closing with the stock sharply higher after the latest inflation report came in to light. Last month's consumer price index rose by 7.7% year over year. It's the lowest annual increase since January. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average grew by 1,201 to 33,715. S&P 500 rose by 207. NASDAQ jumped up by 760. Florida officials issuing safety warnings as Tropical Storm Nicole, we like to call her Nikki, moves through the state. On Twitter, the Division of Emergency Management warned folks stay away from down power lines. A little more than 3,000 customers are without power as a result of Tropical Storm Nicole. According to Georgia's lieutenant governor, former President Trump was fired by the GOP on election night. You're fired. In an interview with CNN, Republican Jeff Duncan said Trump's presence in Georgia during the state's upcoming runoff election between Herschel Walker and Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock would be toxic. Duncan praised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, adding Walker should ask DeSantis to visit Florida and campaign for him. The White House says President Biden will rally nations to speak out against Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the upcoming G20 summit. Speaking to reporters, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and President Biden will discuss a range of challenges for emerging economies like food and energy insecurity. He'll also meet face-to-face for the first time in his presidency with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General suing the Washington Commanders over what he calls a toxic workplace. AG Carl Racine says owner Dan Snyder lied for years about knowledge of a toxic work environment. Racine says the civil lawsuit also involves the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell, who he says aided with a cover-up of sexual allegations with lax oversight.
It's amazing that a guy that refused for so long to change his racist team's name would be hiding all of these things, but you know.
Don't think?
Oh my goodness.
That surprise you?
Bye, Dan. Bye, Dan.
A large section of the ill-fated Space Shuttle Challenger has been found off the Florida coast. NASA says this was discovered by a TV documentary crew looking for wreckage of a World War II plane. New Hampshire schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe was among the crew of 7 killed January 28th of 1986 when the Challenger exploded 73 seconds after liftoff. And now a huge chunk of the Challenger found off the Florida coast so many years later.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder how much that's going to go at auction for.
I mean, I guess I didn't realize that there were such big pieces of it still missing, but it makes sense.
Well, I mean, if it fell into the water, right?
Yeah.
And then the ocean kind of probably brought it up, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve, our darling, amazing Steve, who makes the show possible, has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, please call Steve. 888-TAX-DEAL. You can get him online, MoskowitzLLP.com. He supports us. We support him. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Absolutely. MoskowitzLLP.com. Give him a call for all of your tax needs. Thank you to all of our donors, everyone that supports our Patreon. Please smash that thumbs up button. Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it. A Mark Thompson drop right there that we have. It's like a earworm in my head all the time. Let's put up a couple more comments about what we were talking about with who could actually run if Biden chooses not to run. If Biden chooses to run, I don't think anyone's going to primary him. I really don't. On the progressive side, you would have to say, and because I do think that Biden, I don't give a crap what the Republicans say. He's a moderate. He is. So I don't think that progressives can really point to too many things that Biden has passed or helped get passed. I'd say it wasn't what they wanted. He's been dedicated to fighting climate change. The student loan forgiveness, although, it's been tweaked just to get it passed. But yeah, Randy writes in, it's going to be mostly EVs and some percentage of hybrids. Oh, so I think this was a conversation regarding Newsom, possibly primary Biden. I think that's what you guys are debating in the chat room. And Kim's couch arrived. Apparently, that's awesome.
No, it's not my couch; it's my mom's couch. Just so you know, I'm not out buying new furniture. But I'll post a picture in just a minute. The couch is here.
It's gonna be part of her fabulous room decor. Now, as far as Newsom, I think he's gonna have okay. Let me say this. I think Newsom is going to have a hard time appealing to everyone across the country, but I also feel the same way about DeSantis. I think that, he's a very, very polarizing figure as well. And I feel like a lot of DeSantis's support doesn't necessarily come because they like him. It's because there's a money aspect to him, a business focus that people like, right? We're not going to shut down business because people are dying of COVID. We're going to keep everything open. We're not going to stop cruise liners from letting people on the ships and have all that testing. No. We're going to take on Disneyland and all those sorts of things. So I do think that that's the appeal. I don't know if that's going to get DeSantis all the votes needed necessarily. Pardon me, I'm coughing.
Sorry.
But on the
You're
other
coughing. I'm talking to my mom. What are we doing over here?
It's okay. No, I get excited and I get a tickle in my throat every single time. But I will say this, just to kind of put a finer note before we move on to
Happy
Elon.
birthday, Nugget.
Happy birthday, Nuggy. He's right there. He's my he's my dog co-anchor. He's 2 today. I will say this finally. President Biden, I think, has done an excellent job. I don't want to be ageist. I really don't. But I think that he might not be up to the rigors of campaigning again and another 4 years as president. I just don't. I mean, there's just facts of life that people need to face. Now, who's going to replace him is a big question mark, and we don't want to hurt the Democratic Party because unless something changes with the Republican Party and they finally get a freaking spine and start addressing the needs of this country instead of their own political ambitions, we can't let them be in power. I mean, we can debate ideas, but I do not think DeSantis is what this country needs. I just don't. Okay, let's get to the Muskification of Twitter. So there was an artist, and I want to get his name right because it's like initials. His name is A.E. something or A.E. Marling. Okay. So he's an artist on Twitter. And this is what he's been putting. And he's been kind of projecting. So it's not actually graffiti. So this is the Twitter headquarters. And he kind of puts up lights that say unionized tech, Musk's hellscape, hashtag stop toxic Twitter. And then finally, Musk kisses Putin's ass. Okay. So these are some of the things that he's been projecting onto Twitter's building. And this comes, of course, as Musk is trying to make all of these changes. It's like he's throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the wall and seeing what sticks. So first off, he sends his first email to staff and he told employees that they must put in at least 40 hours at the office. So no more remote work. He also wants subscriptions, that $8 that he wants you to pay, to account for half of all of the revenue that the company brings in. He has this $8 subscription and an attached user verification along with it. But it's been very confusing. Anybody in the live chat tried to get the check mark? So there's an official badge, there's a gray check mark, there's a blue check, and then they're going to out you on what you do. So apparently, if you're like a celebrity or someone that used to get the blue check mark because you're in politics, you'll get that. But if you pay for it, Twitter is going to let everybody know. So it's going to say, all blue subscribers get a verified account and a blue check mark. And then other people they paid for this, they paid for the subscription, or they say they're verified because they're notable in government news, entertainment, or what have you. Now, I still maintain that this is the worst idea ever. So if you pay $8, you can get a check mark that was there before to legitimize you and your account. And now it's just you have $8 in your pocket and you're going to and you're going to get the check mark. So in a Q&A with advertisers yesterday, Elon Musk signaled that Twitter will eventually treat tweets involving mentions or replies from non-paying, unverified users like email spam. He said over time, maybe not that long of time, when you look at mentions, replies, whatnot, the default will be to look at verified accounts. So people that pay the $8. You can still look at unverified, just as in your Gmail or whatever, you can still look at the probable spam folder. So that is going to change fundamentally how Twitter works. Oh my goodness. Is that the couch, Kim McAllister?
That's the couch. People are liking my mom's new couch.
I'm really liking it.
Blue. She got some new cushions on there.
I mean,
well, it looks like that. Oh, she's standing behind me talking. It looks like the coffee table's kind of floating around in the room, but I think it looks pretty good. Pretty nice.
And it's blue. Is it microfiber?
I think it's microfiber, kind of like a microfibery, but it's not leathery microfiber. It's like a fabric, like a velvet.
Yeah. It's easy.
The last couch she purchased in the 1970s, and we all used to make fun of it. It actually looked the same.
That couch can tell some stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, that couch is a goner. What are we pointing out?
Corner piece is different. See how the corner piece kind of goes.
Oh, the corner piece is different. Yes, the corner piece is different.
Okay, I like it. I like it a lot. I need a new couch too.
Well, apparently we don't have a job now, so we need to wait on the couch.
Yeah, we're waiting on the couches. A few more of the super chat subscribers, and maybe we'll put a couch fund in.
I don't even have a couch in my living room. It's a playroom. And disaster area is what we call it.
Well, that's well, take your mom's old 1970s couch. What the hell? It's got all kinds of stories. It's definitely broken in, Kim. I'm sure you know that.
That's right. At least I know where it's been.
There you go. Okay, so very, very nice couch. Congrats to Kim's mom. Now, back to Twitter. What do you guys think? Are you going to, and I don't know how many of you are on Twitter. I mean, Eric Kennedy says it's going to be pay to say on Twitter then. Goodbye, Twitter. Exactly. So I'm not going to pay $8. I feel like it fundamentally would go against my whole belief system in Twitter in general. Like, I'm not paying for this nonsense, this cesspool of conspiracy and hate. And yes, I follow comedians and have fun on it, but $8?
Well, they already the price we paid was giving them all of our personal information.
Yes,
We already were the customer. We were paying them by letting them have access to our complete life, right? And now they want money on top of it? I don't know, Elon. I think you got
No.
enough money there, pal.
But I'm wondering, what is he thinking? Like, is he saying, see, this is what I think, because he said, we're going to try a bunch of different things and some things will work and some things won't. He already said that. So is he trying this $8 and thinking to himself, hell, if enough people do it, then let's keep it. That's why I'm not going to do it. Now, John has a great question, and I don't know the answer. Isn't it $8 a month? That's almost $100 a year. If it was $8 once, I'd pay $8. Every month for me to be fed nonsense and really only fed the tweets of people that also want to pay it, which I just don't think is right. I mean, hateful people that want to spew conspiracy will pay it because then they get the exposure. It's ridiculous.
$7.99 would be $95.88 a year.
That's ridiculous. So yeah, I think that Musk is, I don't know why, but it seems to me he's purposely destroying the platform. I don't know. I don't feel like he had any sort of real plan on what to do, except he wants to make money. So again, going back to the check mark. So how will you be able to distinguish between Twitter Blue subscribers with blue check marks and accounts that are verified as official? They're introducing the official label. So you can actually have two things. You can have a blue check mark, and then you can also have an official label. And the Twitter Blue does not include ID verification. It's an opt-in paid subscription that offers a blue check mark and access to select features.
What's the new gray check mark? There's a gray one now too, right?
Yeah, I think that's the official one.
Is that what it is? Okay.
It's way too confusing. You would have thought they would have tried this out on the back end instead of trying it out live.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, he just kind of throws spaghetti against the wall and hopes that it sticks. You just took over Twitter. Like, why don't you give this some thought? Why don't you convene a panel and really think about this and think about the implications and the rules and talk to people that have worked there for a while and really hear opinions instead of walking in, slapping rules against the wall and see what happens. You know, first it was, it's going to be $19.99. And then people were against that. And he immediately backtracked. No, that's not the way you should do things. You really, you have to logically, reasonably sit down, plot it out, figure out, the positives and the negatives. At least I think that's a good business decision. And then you don't backtrack once you make the choice, because it's based on, a lot of evidence and a lot of things that make sense. This was not. This was spaghetti that we just hope sticks.
Randy chatted in, Twitter was losing money before Musk took over. True. He's got to do something to make it profitable, or it will eventually fail as a company. It is failing as a company. Kim writes in, he wanted to buy Twitter as much as Trump wanted to win the presidency. Absurd things flew out of their mouths, and then they had to follow through. Yup. Musk is in over his head. That from RN Sue. And then Ricky O'Bear, no more Twitter, maybe Mastodon. We talked about this already. I have not joined Mastodon. Anybody do it? Try it, like it, love it, hate it? I don't have any experience with it. So if you do, let me know. Brian Cassidy, it's fun watching it burn down. I don't need to be verified. I'm not an influencer. I know all my posts are going to the void. But I want my tweets. Like, I announce, what's coming up on the show. I tweet out links to the show. So as a platform to advertise for free on Twitter, it's awesome. Is it worth $8? I would rather have targeted ads sent out and collect, $8 and do it that way than to hope. And is there any proof also? Is there any proof that if I'm verified that my timeline is any different than anybody else's? Because it's really based on who you follow. Karen D, maybe he was being paid by an outside identity to buy Twitter and take it apart so that it would not be usable. Kill it off because maybe he wants to control the narrative that Twitter, they were being accused of leaning left and hating liberals, and that's why Trump wanted to create Truth Social. I guess maybe that's a lot of money. $44 billion to own the libs. I wouldn't put it past rich people. I wouldn't do it at all. Donald chats in. He mentioned it is liberal leaning, so MAGA Saudi backers are willing to back Musk to convert or destroy it. Well, bye. My world will not change if Twitter ceases to exist. I know people make a lot of money off of it. You know, if, for instance, YouTube ceased to exist, I'd be bummed because this is where I host my show. So I get that aspect of it, but we would transition to something else. And I think that's what people are doing with Mastodon. Eric Kennedy, maybe he'll bet funding for Twitter from the Russian troll accounts. Maybe. I don't know. And Kim, Musk has made Tesla the most successful EV company in the world, and SpaceX is successful, and you're going to tell Musk how to do business? Doesn't mean lightning always strikes.
No.
I said this before, just because you're brilliant in one area doesn't mean you're brilliant in every area. I think that's an assumption that does not hold any water. And John Watson, I think Musk made a $44 billion mistake. Exactly. Here's another company that's trying to tweak things. Airbnb. Their CEO, Brian Chesky, is responding to complaints and saying, I've heard you loud and clear. He writes, you feel like prices aren't transparent and checkout tasks are a pain. That's why we are making 4 changes. First, starting next month, and he posted this. Yeah, he posted it this month. So starting in December, you'll be able to see the total price you're paying up front. Yeah, but not exactly. When you turn this on, you'll see the total price before taxes, which I don't know why they just can't include all the taxes, but whatever. In the search results, as well as the map, price filter, and listing page. You can also view a full price breakdown with Airbnb service fees, discounts, and taxes. He says, we are prioritizing total price instead of nightly price in our search ranking algorithm. The highest quality homes with the best total prices will rank higher in search results. I love this idea, right? I want to know the out the door price minus taxes, of course, because that's what you need to know. I don't want to see a home that's $100 a night, and then after cleaning fees and everything else, it ends up being $300 a night. If I wanted to search for $300 a night homes, I would have. Brian Chesky goes on to tweet, by the way, we started as an affordable alternative to hotels, and affordability is especially important today. During this difficult economic time, we need to help our hosts provide great value to you. So to see more competitive prices, they're launching new pricing and discount tools to so you better understand the final price that you will pay. And he goes on to write, you should not have to do unreasonable checkout tasks such as stripping the beds, doing the laundry, or vacuuming. But we think it's reasonable to turn off the lights, throw food in the trash, and lock the doors, just as you would when leaving your own home. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, obviously, don't throw food on the floor. Don't leave gross food in the sink. I mean, scrape it off, put it in the garbage. You don't want ants or anything like that.
No, I think that's totally reasonable.
Ricky O'Bear says, I'm back in nice hotels. How many of you are like Ricky? I've found myself looking at hotels first when I used to look at Airbnbs first. I'll be honest. It used to be, let's go find a great, Airbnb someplace and make it happen and have a big, family get together because it was easier than a hotel. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, Airbnbs are not that affordable anymore.
But then when you go to a hotel, you have to deal with, is there going to be somebody loud next door to you? It's like living in an apartment with thin walls. Like, is somebody partying across the hallway? Is there a baby crying in the room next door? I don't know. Sometimes staying in a hotel is not as easy as staying at a standalone residence. And it also, you really get the feel of a place if you're staying in an Airbnb. It's almost like you kind of live there for a few nights rather than you're just parking yourself at a hotel.
I hear what you're saying. Yvonne wrote in, Airbnb down the street, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, $500 a night in Palo Alto. It's these types of homes. Like, I understand if you have a beachfront property or Tahoe, but even in those areas, you're pricing out or taking a property off the rental market, and it's causing housing problems. I mean, people are buying homes simply to do Airbnbs instead of renting them out to people that need a place to live so they can live and work in their community. Karen D, Airbnb ate itself and now has indigestion. No way would I stay at one now. I love that. I love that. Eric, I think all those companies whose business model was to disrupt existing businesses are having issues. Lyft, Grubhub, Airbnb. True. Do you think I think I could live without Airbnb before I would want to say goodbye to something like Lyft? And I'll tell you why. Lyft serves a market need, which is taking my drunk ass home all of the time. Now I know that taxi. Well, it's not like all the time, but
I was going to say,
taxi cabs are not that easy to find still in like some place like San Jose. Okay, it's just not. If I'm in downtown Campbell, I am not seeing taxi cabs drive by all the time, but I am able to see lifts all over the place. So that I like, and I think that I'd much rather have an ease of Lyft picking me up and taking me home than obviously drinking and driving, which I wouldn't want to do, or waiting for an hour for a taxi cab. The taxi cab industry needs to figure it out. You mean what? Yes, Eric, but they're not available. At least not in my neck of the woods and at the ease, frequency, and speed that I can get a Lyft. If taxi cabs where you are as quick as Lyft, great, but they're not that way where I live. And so until they are, I will. I mean, when we went to Vegas, I took taxis. Why? Because they were everywhere. But at home, if I'm going downtown and I want to go out drinking and I don't want to drive home, I'm not waiting for a taxi cab. It's going to take way too long. It just hasn't been fixed yet. Lyft takes advantage of its drivers, though. I hear you. And that does need to be fixed. I mean, AB5, the whole, independent contractor law that California had passed and all that. Can it be better for its workers? Yes. Should the workers do something about it? Yes. Should voters support them? Yes. Should you tip your Lyft driver every single time? Yes. I mean, all of these things, it's kind of the answer to that problem. But I do think that Lyft addresses more of a societal need, in my opinion, than Airbnb does. I think Lyft can help, that need more work with the workers and help for the workers. But Airbnb, I think, has done so much damage with housing prices and rental prices that I'd be fine if they went away. Absolutely.
I think I would rather lose Lyft and Airbnb than DoorDash.
Ooh, I love DoorDash. I do. But it made me so lazy.
You feeling what I'm selling?
Yeah. I love DoorDash. I should get, they should pay me for how much I love DoorDash. Yeah, you're right. But it's made us lazy. So maybe it's better if they also went away. Oh, Joe Fong, so happy for you two amazing women and your success with the program. What a wonderful example you are for your sweet daughters. Keep it going. We're trying to.
Nice message.
Yeah. So as we wrap up the show, that's a great reminder to one, smash that button. Smash it. Hit the button. Push the button. There we go.
Come on, push the button.
We should just
push the button.
Smash!
Smash.
Smash! Smash!
That's my little mix of smash and push the button. So yeah, click that thumbs up. It helps us. Don't ask me to explain how, but it does. If you can, please go to thenikkimedoroshow.com and be a monthly Patreon subscriber. Day in and day out, we're here to do the show, and we can only do it if we have subscribers.
It doesn't even have to be a lot. Like it doesn't even have to be a big amount. Like a couple bucks a month. Good job. Do it.
It could be whatever you can afford. We are so very, very, very grateful for it. So yeah, the link to our Patreon is on our website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. You can find links to the show to share with your family and friend, which is another way to really help the show. And before I let you guys go, please send me your Veterans Day shout out stories. My question that I'll be asking and wanting to discuss for a bit tomorrow is, do you think serving in the military in the year 2022 has changed? Do you think politics has seeped in to people's desire to serve our country in this way? And if you have someone you want to give a shout out to, whether it's through a voice memo or an email, send it to me, thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com, and I'll get to them. So hopefully you guys send them in and we'll read them, we'll play them. And it's a special day, Veterans Day. I have a lot of veterans in my family. And so we definitely want to take time out to thank all of them. And from Kim and myself, a big thank you to all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Nikki Medoro Show on YouTube.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're
Sprout, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.